Okay, then we'll go ahead. So, hello everyone. Today I have a guest today. We're going to talk about the Unity shit show that's been going on for what, about 2 or 3 days? It's been 2 days, I think, right? I think
Yeah,
it was two
something
days.
like that. Some like 2 or 3 days.
Three at best. Three at best.
Yeah, pretty best.
But we're going to talk about the Unity shit, about things people have talked about, some personal concerns, things I don't feel like anyone's really talked about. So I guess the first thing to do is really bring context for anyone who hasn't really heard about any of it. Which, to be honest, if you're in the gaming sphere, it's kind of hard to imagine because, like, literally everyone's talking about it. So if you're somehow being Patrick under a rock, Unity has decided to make a fee system based on installs of games, not like their actual software, but of anyone who makes games with their software. So, like, let's use Slay the Spire, which apparently uses Unity, or was it? Or did they say the next game is using Unity? Actually, now that I think about it, I think their tweet said the next game was going to be using Unity.
Yeah, it's the next game. It says right
Yeah,
here the Mega Crit team has been hard at work for these past 2+ years on a new game. But unlike with the Slay Aspire, in
yeah.
quotation marks, the
So
engine will be in Unity. So it's gonna screw over their developments. And they have to like go so far back. And that they don't do they never done a public statement before. This is how badly fucked up.
yeah, so I correct myself. The current game they have in development is going to be using Unity, but let's say that gets sent out, and they're going to base it after they make a certain threshold of money, and they retroactively track all. So let's say they meet the money, and there's been 10,000 installs. So now they're charging 20 cents on every single install that had in its life and continuing onward. At least was the current thing. It is important to note that this is a literally ever changing story. Like it almost feels like every hour something is slowly either changing, being spread incorrectly, or people reporting various information from supposed leakers, inside knowledge, talk to the Unity employees. So take a lot of this with grains of salt because there's just been lots of varying information that has been really hard to 100% fact check everything. I mean, I've literally watched like 10 plus videos with so many different things of new and older information and things. So keep that in mind as we go over things. But one of the first big concerns with this system was it's going by installs and not sales. So that immediately brought up the concern of, let's say I hate this developer and I'm an asshole and I want them to suffer. So there was the concern that people may just continuously keep installing and uninstalling a game over and over again to jack up that count, which at the last time of any information I've read, they have not revealed how they're even keeping track of that, which is something in a later topic to talk about with like physical and DRM free and piracy games. Um, but essentially, everyone freaked out in various ways because this is just a lot of money. When you do a lot of the math and shit with the numbers and shit, like they'll retroactively, like it's like all of a sudden the tax people coming to your door and just saying, "Hey, you owe like $50,000 to us," just out of the blue with that. It's quite fucking ridiculous, and
Yeah.
big companies like EA and shit, they could probably, throw that money easily without fucking dying. I mean, they might grumble a lot about the lost money, obviously. I mean, you got, what's the guy that's at, the Ubisoft dude? I always hear about him getting the 500th ways in his life. Oh,
Yeah. I know one thing for sure is that what's never gonna be hurting the developer, the one kinds of developers for most, is that I did took a look at like all the Unity games. There are some that are free to play, like literally Pokemon Go. We have Fall Guys. and even Genshin Impact, which you definitely do not want to screw over like developers and the fans of like really high grossing franchises like the Pokemon franchise, which is easily like the highest grossing IP of all time. And then you have Genshin Impact, which for better or worse hosts like a bunch of like uh, uh, of um of women you per se you could like easily give the game you could give the game like a gotcha like surface that does brings in billions of dollars. There's no doubt that Nintendo, the Pokemon company, and Miyoho are probably looking at this and it's like and they're probably like, why in the hell is Unity doing this? And this is going to cost us a lot of money and hurt our bottom line. We want this change out now, or else we're going to be start going to other services. And especially for the fact that also, Unreal Engine, also like Fall Guys, they it's literally now owned by Epic Games, but it's developed in Unity. There's no doubt they're
Yeah,
also
because
probably
they
looking at this.
bought the developers, if I remember correctly.
They did absolutely because they saw like how it took off, especially with PS Plus as of like August 2020. It was like the peak, but they took that and yeah, they now own them. But there's no doubt now
Yeah.
that they'll eventually like just swap that game to like Unreal Legend.
Yeah,
And
if they're still making money and Unity does not roll back on any of these things, I wouldn't necessarily say it would be outside the realm of impossibilities for them to look at possibly porting or somehow getting it out of Unity and into some other program. But that can always meet different difficulties. I know several developers have basically said, I'm going to look into this. So definitely some developers are definitely checking out that possibility. And since you did bring up a bunch of things related to one particular topic, I've never really seen anyone illustrate. So as noted, there are two thresholds that they have to meet: install and the money to trigger these fees. And something they haven't really been clear about is microtransactions a part of these equations, because those are an additional thing on a game's cost. So if the game is free and if it actually is just going by the game's cost and not microtransactions, in theory free games could get around it if it doesn't count microtransactions. But as far as I know, no one's really asked about that, and there's no information as far as I've seen about that subject matter. So that could certainly be something interesting to see. Personally, I wouldn't be shocked if they do count microtransactions, though, because I mean, obviously they want money. I mean, like
yeah,
they don't deserve any of the fucking money. It's like they're always getting money for their fucking program. This goes into like out of random curiosity, what Windows operating system do you have, or do you have a Windows operating
uh,
system?
I have Windows 10 for both my laptop and desktop, and I do have a Steam Deck, which is technically a Linux distribution operating system via SteamOS. So I
So
have so that's three operating systems.
when I got my PC I have now, which I got strictly to do VR stuff in, but before this I had a Windows 7 computer, so I took a little bit of a leap though, and I was surprised to see how much bullshit Windows 10 had. Like that you have to subscribe to fucking use basic fucking programs that came with the operating system in the past. And I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm not subscribing for fucking Word documents and shit. Fuck that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but yeah, it's just them wanting more fucking money. They're giving people literally nothing for anything. So it is just strictly money. So I again, I wouldn't be surprised if they count money transactions. But of course, one would have to throw out. Can they legally ask for the financials? Because I mean, obviously, like through like Steam and stuff, they could possibly get a better idea on financials through game sales that way. But like you'd have to go through the company to get money transactional things for most games, and that kind of goes into a scenario like, do they even have the legal right to demand that information from any of these companies to even figure that kind of equation out? Like, I mean, there's just different ways for that topic to go, in my opinion. But either way, I would imagine they would want to count it if they could find a way to do it.
I would imagine for something like Genshin Impact and the Pokemon franchise,
Oh,
if there is a
especially
will, there is a way.
because they make a
And
lot of money.
yeah, because they make a lot of money, and there's no doubt that there will be knocking on Miyoho's or Pokemon Company's doors like, hey, how much of those games are making kind of money? And they're more likely will have to spill the beans or face some sort of lawsuit.
I mean,
I mean,
like,
hope it
one.
doesn't go through, but hopefully it doesn't go to that far because of how Unity is just not poorly handling the situation. But let's assume it passes, right? There's no doubt that Unity will be targeting the Pokemon Company Miho out this. Maybe not as easily with smaller devs because there's no telling how much they will make. But yeah, there's definitely gonna be the big targets because that's easy money for Unity.
Oh yeah, if they can do it, they'll definitely try. But I mean, it's just hard to imagine them having the legal right to do that. Like right now, they're already in. Like, I'm surprised nobody's really talked about suing them. Like, I watched two different loyal YouTubers, and I'm really curious about asking their opinion on the. Are you aware of the TOS thing that they did? I think I linked you a tweet related to that. I think.
Yeah, I have it right here. This is like for Reddit. That how they suddenly remove the GitHub
Yeah, like
repo
I mean,
and all
that
that.
there alone feels like a questionable thing that you could possibly sue Unity about, because that is really underhanded to have an agreement that has shit in it, and then literally cut it out and then change your shit on top of it. Like that sounds like such bullshit. You think you would get into a lot of legal trouble for something like that. So I'm curious to see some lawyers' opinions on that, because that to me just sounds really questionable to take out a bunch of shit that could have been used against them. Because essentially, from what I understand, it would allow developers to be like, oh, my game was before this change, so I'm unaffected, which is hence why they got rid of it, from what I understand, so they can affect everyone, and
I
that's just so weird to retroactively affect people in that way. Like, it'd be one thing to be like, okay, everything next year and beyond has to follow new terms and shit, but it's so weird. It's like, okay, that game that's 20 years old that used Unity, well, fuck you, we want money from your shit. And
yeah,
it like,
exactly.
and
Um,
that in a way, like, a lot of people are talking about how that's harmful to indies now. Imagine how harmful that's to indies in the past, like, because the game is, when its course, it probably still gets sales, but the big hype train and everything is gone, likely. So they get more minimalistic sales instead of like the giant millions and millions of sales. But they're wanting to retroactively count all that still. So if, like, say I'm a developer from 20 years ago, they do that. Now it's like, okay, we want $20 million from you. Like, what?
yeah, and it's
Like
like out of
like
the blue too.
it's like, did you think I just literally saved every single penny I ever made? Like, I mean, I hope they saved some of it, to be honest. But I mean, they, like, some of the, like, I've seen a video do a bunch of math, and like some companies even showed like how they would basically be going bankrupt instead of even making any money at all. And that mostly applies to indie studios again, because um, the fee, my understanding with the fee, it's a flat rate. So, like, say it's, for example, let's say it's $10. So, regardless of your game's $70 or $19, you gotta give me $10. And obviously, when your game's cheaper, you're losing a huge or chunkier revenue that way. So that way is one of the reasons it's really hurting indies a lot more, because indies are usually, especially when you're in the digital market, they're like between like $5 to like $30.
Yeah, I think that's like my problem right there when it comes to having these games like digital games, digital downloads or games. It's like it might be one thing to not worry about as much for current physical games, but it may, especially the fact that you don't have to take patches, especially on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. It may make a couple, but what will happen for like the digital downloads? But once that new update hits in, and if Unity really wants to, they can update every single digital game to include this DRM to where it be develop the chargeback will have the developer, all these developers, especially indie developers. The only one suffering is going to be the people play the games and also the indie developers, and it's just not fair to try to do this kind of shit whatsoever.
Yeah,
And as
those
far as I want to address is that in terms of service, for the fact that they try to do this over time instead of giving a blunt announcement of it, a proper announcement of the terms and service change is very shady to do. And honestly, Unity should be ashamed of themselves to even do that in the first place. That's what
honestly,
I
I
want to
like. I
talk
think the
about.
CEO needs investigated because I'm sure you've probably heard about the whole he sold his stocks off kind of thing.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Like
Yeah,
that
it's
that is very sus. Like he supposedly sold it just a few days before this announcement, which I told a coworker, like to me tells me like three things. Either A, when your company's a stock trade, just because you're the CEO doesn't mean you're the boss. It's kind of like that episode of the Flintstones where Fred Flintstone wishes from the Great Kazoo that he was his boss, and then he kind of finds out his boss had bosses above him and kind of made his life shitty. You're kind of in that kind of scenario when you're in the stock trade. So either A, the people above him, the board of directors type people, had this brilliant idea, and he's like, yeah, this is not good. I think I'm going to get way to cash out. Or possibly that there might be some more like maybe like they're getting ready to quit or fired or something. Or the other possibility that they're trying in the long term to get more money. Like the short, like I call it the looking ahead like shit. Well, essentially they know in the short term they're gonna get a bunch of shit and stuff. But kind of like how Microsoft slowly eased everyone into the shitty situation where they have online and more DRM shit and stuff. They eased people into that from the Xbox One to the Series. They had the outcry slowly to them into the Series having a lot of the options. Like they could be looking at just being like, okay, we'll see how many people are just like, well, they didn't change their mind. I guess we'll just stay the course of that. How much they'll deal with it. But he sold his stock to not lose a lot of fucking money. But other than that, I don't know what other real possibilities. But either way, it's sus, and you could even consider it inside trading. Like you
yeah.
had what's his name from one of the two Sonic creators who did Balance
Yuji
Wonderworld.
Naka, and yeah, he did like some Dragon Quest trade NFT or some trading
Yeah, like
bullshit
basically he knew
where they
about
were
a
able.
mobile game they were developing and he dumped money into the company that was developing it before the game was even ever announced. But yeah, he got punished for insider trading and apparently that was like a big problem in Japan and that's also a problem in America. There's a lot of politicians that use a lot of knowledge they get to do inside trading shit too. But yeah, I honestly think the CEO he needs investigated either way, regardless of why the hell they sold those stocks. Because like yeah, that's whether they're wanting the company to sink or whether they're just hoping to stick their head in a hole and in the long term devs stick with them and pay them tons of like essentially this is like a subscription fee to them. It's a reoccurring fee. They'll like as long as the game exists as a purchasable thing, every year there's still the potential to get more and more money out of it. It's a renewable that's what I should use. Like it's a renewable income. The more
Yeah,
games there are, the longer it exists, and that. So, but
I
go ahead.
yeah, and it's like a matter that like they're going to uh, there's a way there'll be a lot of investigating that needs to happen, but between like the breaching of terms of service, the investors, um, the CEO, and also like there's another going to get a lot of raising questions from indie developers, AAA companies, and many others that that's like what's going to happen with the older games, what's going to happen with the newer development games. Does everyone need to go and swap over to Unreal Engine 5? Because it seems like that it's going to probably happen with this uh preventing Unreal tweet this shortly after that announcement.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of different implications for the future and past games with a lot of this, especially if obviously they actually stick to this. I mean, literally everyone's hoping, obviously, they roll back and just decide not to. But even if they did that, like the reputation and trust is in like insanely damaged. Like
I couldn't agree more.
that's kind of why I'm concerned that it's kind of a long term strat because like you'd have to be really fucking stupid not to think this is going to upset people. Like, I don't know what kind of childish, ignorant mindset you would have to think nobody would have a problem with any of this at all. But,
It literally benefits Unity. It
eh,
doesn't benefit anyone else. The only loophole I can think of is physical games, and even then, well, not the feature games. Especially for like besides Fire Dev, I know like that. There's no doubt that I get Battery and Compile Heart, like the two devs, like how, sure, yeah, like that's it for sisters. Don't have to worry about if they Unity does push an update for some sort of weird ass DRM for my
yeah, and
physical
see,
copy of the game, or
that
even the
is.
censorship.
That is a big concern I have is because obviously, like you said, I said this to my forklift driver at work yesterday that my big concern really is this encouraging a new form of DRM to keep track of quote unquote installs and shit. Because obviously, if they force it to be online for it to send information, then thus they can get that information. But obviously, as it currently stands, unless it's an online only game, we could, keep our consoles offline and never have it be considered. Same thing with GOG. You could buy the game, install it on an offline computer, and never have it really registered at all. And while on that topic, there's been a great concern on whether I figured just squeeze this in here about piracy copies counting because apparently most devs say that they won't have a system to basically tell the difference between DRM free or pirated version of a game,
Yeah,
and that brings up like they haven't talked about how they're gonna keep track of any of this. As some people put, just trust me, bro. just
yeah,
trust me. I
yeah, exactly. I,
just
I
trust me.
think I think my problem is like, yeah, if somebody we spent a nice figure out don't worry about physical games because like with my Neptune game, I don't worry about the ESRB changes censorship thing that controversy that happened between ESRB and Idea Battery, and if Unity
Oh,
does
you're,
such a
you're talking
DRM
about
check.
where they fucked up about saying like the kind of language on the weighting, and instead of
Yes,
fucking reprinting any of it or something, they just fucking patched the language down. Like, yeah, I bought a copy because it was I was like, oh well, I better buy a copy in case they make new prints of it now because like I don't want a censored version. That was one of the most stupidest fucking things I've ever saw. Like. You
yeah,
like I mean I can't say like I have the best solution. Maybe like we print covers and offer those. I mean what they could have done with retail is you buy from limited one games, right?
I absolutely do. I well I
So
used to, but yeah.
Did you buy games before and after the ESRB forced them to have the waiting on their games?
I
Were
don't
you
know
in?
if I had any that were forced. I had to double check my collection, but I
Well,
think
I don't
most of
know.
mine
I
do have
don't
ESRB.
know. How long you followed it. Like I've literally been with Limited One since day one. Like I bought not Bleach and Cleo and that. I have those, but yeah. Originally, they had no ESRB weightings on any of their games. They basically found the loophole because they're not going through retail. They don't need it. But then one day the ESRB decided to pull their pants up and say, "Hey, we want more money, and these fuckers are releasing this shit without our logo." So they basically changed the fucking rules to be like, "Yeah, you need it now." So one of the releases that they had already printed, but haven't sold yet, was what was it called? Demo, I think it's pronounced. It was on the Vita. It was the Vita version. Though there is a PlayAsia PS4 and Switch version of it too, if I remember correctly. But I believe it was called Demo. It's like a musical rhythm game with like pianos and shit. I hear it's a
Yeah.
really sad story, but they put stickers on it, on the plastic for the ESRB weighting. So it's not physically printed on it. So, like, I would have probably tried something like that for retail copies. Just give all the retailers a bazillion stickers to put on them, and offer like new covers to be sent out to buyers who want them. Which, I mean, realistically, I can't imagine a lot of buyers being like, "Yeah, I need an upgraded cover for the waiting board." So I can't imagine a lot of people being worried about that.
Yeah, especially over Europe. Like, they get those stupid, oversized green boxes of bullshit.
Oh,
It
that
looks
shit.
horrible.
That's a German thing, right? That was a
I
German.
believe so, yeah. Because I have a European copies of games like Blaze Blue, Central Fiction, Special Edition, Guilty Gear, the Guilty Gear Collection Pack, and even Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I don't have those big ass boxes for any of those games. So it would
Yeah,
have
I'm
to
pretty
stop me like
sure that's
elsewhere.
the German waiting that's separate. That does the big
Yeah.
green box. Yeah, those are horrible. I bought a copy of what was it called? It's that DS game where you hold it like a book. It's black and white. Um, what the fuck was it called again? I forgot. I have too many
The
fucking
DS
games.
game that's like a book.
You hold your DS like a book, and the characters interact with the screens up and down instead of like how you would normally hold the DS. It's a,
Um,
I
I know there's
can't,
like Brain Age.
not
I
Blaney.
don't know
It's
if
a
that's the one you want to
story-based
talk
game
about.
that's black and white. I can't remember, but its sequel never came out in America, and the price started going up, and I bought like the German version because it was cheap, because of the big ugly green box. I'm like, well, a part of me wants to cry because of this ugly green box, but the other side of me is glad I saved $40.
Y- Yeah, I know that's all I did for like some what was it, for 3DS games. Especially for Pokemon Omega Ruby. Well, not Omega Ruby. Actually, it's Alpha Sapphire. I went ahead and got. You could literally get a brand new copy of it for like what, maybe like 10 more bucks for retail. Whereas goodness knows, like trying to get like a regular copy of it without any like the what was it, the Middle Eastern or Malaysia company territories logo. Yeah, actually getting those types of 3DS games are actually cheaper. And what's funny is that there's still, for some odd reason, they are Witchery North American copies,
Hmm.
just rebranded, and it's very strange. But I ain't complaining. At least there's like another way to like get North American games for certain Nintendo consoles.
Oh yeah, I mean, it I'm always up for making a game more available. I own like a lot of whale games and shit, but I'm not one of those people like, oh no, my Wall of Woes is worthless because they re-released the game. Mamma mia! Like, I look at it as a good thing for people to be able to experience games that are obviously really hard to fucking experience nowadays. So I'm always happy for games to be more accessible. That so, if the you know if it's a weird way to go about, but it's out there and it's not $5 million or some shit ridiculous. Yeah, it's good in my
Yeah,
book.
that's exactly what I would want to bring up, and especially with today's Nintendo Direct. For better or worse, I'm just gonna push my honest thoughts of it aside. But there was a few interesting games that I did caught my eye, and am glad that we have them. And that's the remasters of the Mario RPG game. That's like from all the way back from the Super Nintendo, and even a remaster of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Yeah, I heard about Thousand Years Duel actually coming at the Direct today. I was doing my morning workout. I do workouts in VR, if you don't know that. But I was doing the morning workout today, and I was like, oh, shit, there's a Nintendo Direct going on right now. Shit, I'm missing all these announcements and that. I'm kind of like indifferent with the Super Mario RPG Legend of Seven Stars. It's good for people that obviously have it who didn't get to experience it before, because now the cartridge, as far as I know, is like, I think it's like $200 now. I hate Columba, but
Is
like,
it really? Wow, wow.
I think. I mean, like, I'm not always the best up to date on prices. They're always changing. Like,
Yeah, yeah, we are.
I remember getting Gotcha Force for the GameCube. Like, I knew nothing about when I got it, and like, it's by Capcom, and I was like, oh, it's like 250 or something. Like, it was on sale when GameStop was getting with GameCube shit. So I was like, sure, it's a Capcom game. I'll buy it. Then, like, years later, someone tells me, it's like, you got Gotcha Force? I'm like, yeah, that was some random game I got at, like, GameStop for nothing. It's like, that's, like, the rarest North America GameCube game. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. I think definitely the one that definitely struck home the most was definitely getting a Thousand Year Door remake, and because the GameCube games are only going more and more up, there's no denying
Oh,
about it.
yeah.
And I
Uh,
feel like the preservation of GameCube games is a gosh damn joke. It is horrible. It is abysmal, and I hate there's like no support for it. But
I blame though unique little mini discs. Like, that's what one of the things Nintendo's always been notorious about, making unique cartridges or CDs to make it harder to fucking get anything solved with those shit.
yeah, for sure. Well, at least the good thing for sure is that at least it's starting to be is very, very slow, but a very, very right direction. Because for I know that because if we put the controversy aside for Mario All Stars, for one because that's another can of worms I don't feel want to open. And the very well appreciate is that they did bring like Super Mario Sunshine to modern platforms. And
Yeah, I
that
actually
is
did not
very
have
intriguing.
Mario Sunshine on the GameCube, so that's actually one of the main reasons I actually got that collection on the Switch. I know they didn't put a lot of effort into those versions, but I
Yeah,
got
they
I
definitely
got it
didn't.
on a discount, so it worked out for me.
Yeah, for
But yeah,
sure.
I would have probably hated to pay like full price for that. I can't
Yeah,
remember, was it 49 or was it 59 when it
it's
came out?
59. It was 59.99. There's no telling how much it is now. But even then, they had it stopped for quite a long time
Oh
now after
yeah,
the
like I mean,
discontinuation of the eShop.
I haven't really tried to look for it lately, so I don't know if it's still like at Walmart and that. Actually, to be honest, I don't usually look too often at brand new stuff like at Walmart and that too often. Usually, most of the stuff these days I pre-order are usually from Video Game Plus a lot of times. So usually when I
I
go to usually when I go to Walmart, I look at the cheap shit and then see if I can flip at GameStop. Like, oh, it's $5 here. It flips for $10 at GameStop. I'll buy all of these. Thank you.
I'll take the X-ray sale.
Oh yeah, I love doing that. Like I just did that recently with 3 games I got from Woot. What was it? It was like Clash something. It has
Crash
like a
Bandicoot?
orangish looking dude on the cover. Like Woot.
Yeah, it's gotta be Crash Bandicoot.
No,
It's
not
just called.
Crash Bandicoot. Like
Oh.
he looks like a walkie. I know Crash Bandicoot. Like I played that when I was on PS1. No, this is just like some unique game. Like looks kind of like a orange walk dude, but it's called like Clash something something of that. But I kept one copy of it, but I traded the other two. Like Woot.com was selling them for $9.99, and GameStop with Pro was giving $15.40 off of them. So basically, the two games, covered the one version I kept for myself,
No, there you go. That's a
and I
pretty
get
decent deal.
and I get to keep the cases and shit, and
Oh
and
yeah,
the
but you don't care
codes.
about the cases all
Oh
that.
yeah,
They're
because
not even.
I always tell my viewers, if you need spare cases and shit and you trade the GameStop, don't give them your cases. It does not affect your price. They will give you the same amount of money with the disc or without with the cases and stuff or without the cases. Like when I used to do dumpster diving, they usually throw like people who give them like the big collector's editions and shit. They usually throw that shit away. Like there was so many collector's edition steelbook cases and shit I found in the dumpster when I used to fucking dumpster dive like all the fucking time. Like I found like I think 5 of the GTA 5 collector's editions for the PS4 and Xbox One back in the day. Like one of them had the hat, most of them had the map. I'm trying to remember all the shit came with it. I think there was a bag. Obviously it was a pretty big
Hang on, let
box.
me grab it real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah, I can't remember everything because like as much as the PS4 and Xbox One generation is one generation behind. It's been a long time since that. Like they keep making console generations longer and longer. But yeah, it was a pretty big box. I believe it had a map, a hat, probably a steel book.
Yeah, it does. It comes with like a hat. You have a map, and then it's like this weird patch. I'm not so sure what that is.
But yeah, like I found all kind like
Yeah,
they even threw the stick of truth in the trash for some reason. It even had the game. It was the Cartman, the box, the game. I don't know why they threw it away. The game works fine. So I'm like, hey, free collector's edition. Thanks.
I know, right? Yeah, we can go on like all day, like how much useful shit that GameStop throws in. I
Oh
remember
man, you
watching
don't
my
you don't even
dumpster
want me to
diving.
get on the topic of them fucking throwing away so much. Like like if you look at like my old videos doing that shit, I would say like all the time like be like if I had my own fucking store, I would probably throw none of this shit away. Like at a bare minimum, I'd have a bin and be like if you purchase something, pick something out, like have cases, cheap games nobody wants to buy, weird accessories. I would use or the postals or the ad stuff or just like any means to make the customer slightly happier is an increased chance of them coming back to the store. And I just don't understand why they throw all that shit away that people were like. I mean, some of those ad posters are really nice posters. Like back when they did Persona Q, they had this beautiful purple ad poster that had a interesting like texture on the text, and I asked very nicely the female manager that was in charge of the GameStop at the time, and she was always really nice. I miss her. She did a lot of nice favors for me, but she saved that for me. That was before I did dumpster diving. But like she used to do me lots of nice favors. Like when I'm looking for someone DS game, she would actually call up stores that have them and ask them to send them up and stuff and that. Like she was a really good manager. I miss having good employees like that at GameStop because like the ones that I deal with now are either incredibly rude or just clearly don't care about their job, even though that one kind of works in my favor. Because, like, a weird story, I think I told this on the Discord before, where they had a sale on Detective Pikachu. It was weird cheap, and I was trying to trigger the free shipping, but for some reason pre-orders weren't triggering the free shipping. So I just decided, I'll buy 2 copies of Detective Pikachu, keep the best one, try for a case, and just return the other one, say there's something wrong with it. And I did get one with a case and one without a case, and the one that was in the case had a hole punctured into the cartridge. So I swapped that with the one without the case, and I'm like, sweet. I don't even have to lie. I just I legit don't want a fucking cartridge with a hole in it. So I put in that little plastic thing they use for loose DS stuff, and I took that back. Now it had a stickle, the stickles, where it was like $20-something on the stickle, but I think
Right.
the sale was for like $9 or something. So I
Yeah.
go to return it. I literally have the receipt in my hand. And I hand her the game, say I want to return it. She scans that stickle and gives me that money in cold hard cash
That's
back.
insane.
And I'm just like, okay, don't complain. Nod your head and walk away wee slow like.
Yeah, I remember that sale. I remember actually getting like was a Kirby Battle Royale for like $10, and it was still complete a box too. I think I remember that sale before as well.
Yeah,
It was kind
they
of
had a
same. And
few
there's a
at
Pikachu sale.
at that
So
time. There were a few. They did that with Detective Pikachu. I also remember they did it with the Pokemon Sun and Moon, the normal versions, not the where they Ultra. I think.
yeah, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon.
Yeah, they did it with the original versions, but yeah, there were a few 3DS sales they did at that time. But yeah, I like that's a lot of incompetence. Like I mean, like I said, it is in my favor, but that's still a horrible employee. And then the same employee did something else weird too, and it was a bit my mistake to be honest. I went to a torn. So I wanted to get the version of Control with the DLC, and they sent me the normal version that didn't have the DLC, and I went to return that, and she forced like, oh, yeah, because you got used, the code's used. It's like, no, this doesn't have a code. It is physically on the disc. I literally am part of a group that does this kind of shit. I'm very familiar with this. So she's like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. And she does the return. And at that time, I did not have a receipt because sometimes they don't give you a paper receipt with your mail packages. Sometimes do, sometimes they don't. I don't know. It's annoying, but yeah, I didn't have it with me. And then I was like, I think it was $14.99, not $12.99. And she's like, whatever. And she gave me $2 more. She didn't even question it. And when I got home and looked it up, I was like, oh fuck, it was $12.99. Oh fuck. Like,
Oops.
but yeah, like I said, that was a little bit my fault to be fair. But yeah, like she's an awful employee. I don't know how she ain't fucking fired to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I wonder why we're losing all this fucking money.
Yeah, GameStop themselves at this point is like a running ass joke. I'm honestly am glad. I honestly thought more about it because I did want to pre-order. What was it? Rainbow Fantasy not versus Rainbow Fantasy Rewings' collector's edition. I basically did it as soon as Amazon dropped it, of all things. And it's like, yeah, they normally don't take the best care of their packages. But
Oh yeah, when
there's
I
no
did
doubt. But
that
there's no doubt.
NIS one with the little king and the dragon. Like my box had a crush in the corner of it. I was so pissed.
Yeah. But yeah, like no doubt about it that it's going to be a much bigger package like usual. Since it comes with like the proto Bahamut statue and such. I feel like at this point, I'd rather just take my chances of either Amazon or Best Buy over GameStop because GameStop is like
My
fading into
experience with
decay.
Best Buy is if it's bigger than like a game case, it's usually going to be in a box. But if it's just a standard game case, it'll be in bubble. Like when I bought a bunch of the what are they? I think it was called Starlink. It was a Ubisoft game. It was like one of the
Okay.
last action Toys to Life things they did.
Yeah, it was Starlink.
Yeah, like I bought a lot of those because they were flipping the game. Like the game was flippable at GameStop, and that was just for the game, not the figures and stuff. So like I have like 5 boxes of like the figures and shit in empty cases. And I gave one. I gave one to my nephew. Too. I gave one to my nephew. and I bought a PS4 one for myself, but I bought a whole bunch of Switch ones because they flipped like good at GameStop. But it's so weird how they Best Buy sent them to me. Like most of them came individually in a box that was like 3 times the size with bubble shit in them, and I'm just like, these are the weirdest packaged shit I've ever gotten in the mail.
I always want to get the Switch version because I was a Star Fox
Yeah.
64 kind of fan. So being having Armoring will be damn cool, a damn cool display piece.
Uh, I mean, yeah, um, it's nice little figures in that. I have to like, I think I traded one of the boxes of figures to someone, but I should still have 3 boxes of the Switch figures that. Actually, I wonder if those are even worth anything now. I'm not even sure, actually, because I know the Switch version of the last Skylanders game became ungodfully expensive. Like, apparently, like a loose cart of Imaginators is like almost $200 fucking. I'm like, the
Why?
fuck? I have no idea. I have actually, ironically, both PS4 and Switch version of that. The PS4 version was one of the most standard versions, and it was like $5 at Walmart. While the Switch version's the one that had figures and shit, and that one I got for $10. So I'm like, so what you're telling me is that box I have is probably worth like $200, $300. I'm like, fuck. I need to find someone to sell some of this shit to, man. But we've kind of derailed way off topic here.
Wait,
But
yeah,
but since we are talking about a bunch of console shit, why not steal into So there was one developer, I think it was like called Big Hat Studios or that. I know the logo is kind of like a Professor Layton top hat looking kind of logo. Um, but I remember coming across a few of their tweets during all this shit, and they were talking about some wording in one of their FAQs, making it not clear whether legit the developers are going to be charged or whether the storefronts, because like he had a picture of the FAQ, and it like the way it was worded made it sound more like the storefront. So it's like, so if that's the case, are you gonna demand money from Nintendo, PlayStation, Microsoft for installs? Because I'd love to see you try and do that.
I really don't think that's gonna go too well because, especially if they're promoting more until digital sales, there's no doubt that Sony
Oh,
and
it would be
Microsoft will fire
awful.
back.
Actually, to be honest, if they actually tried to do that with them, I would tell you what 100% I would bet they would do. They would ban Unity games on their platforms. They'd be like, "Oh, you want to play that, huh? Okay, get all this shit off, wipe it all off."
Yep.
I bet
Like
I bet they would do that. I mean, like, it's like, oh, so if we install, you want us to charge. So if it's non-existent on our platform, then you can't do anything.
I mean, as shitty as it sounds, I mean, you can't exactly blame these companies because they're trying. Unity is trying to be a reach to the three of them. So they're just going to be like, you know what? We're just going to fast strap them. That's fine if you want to play that game.
And again,
And
that
if you don't like it, we're just going to take it to court while you're doing. Well, like, is it fair? There's no doubt Unity will not have the strength to try to face Microsoft, Sony, especially Nintendo's Warriors. They're gonna die.
oh, like I said, I'm surprised nobody's talked about any lawsuity type things in relation to this, because there's so many things that feel so illegal about everything from the terms of service to trying to retroactively charge money for games, like games that might not even have owners that are really even alive anymore. like like it's so weird that like I don't even know if that is legal to charge money for like what's that with courtrooms where like if you did something like 40 years ago in legal, the statute of limitations, you would think there would be some kind of aspect to that with a sale. Like, that sounds kind of ridiculous to be like, well, I know your game sold like 50 years ago and shit, but yeah, we kind of want to use all the information from then to now to like put like $50 million fee on you if you don't mind. Like, just
That shit's just not gonna fly because, like, what if they don't even remember what they even made?
I mean, like, that's why, like, I'm really curious if they go forward with all this shit without somehow either making it where most people are happy, which I don't really see how they're gonna do that without basically noodling the point of it or walk back. Like, I think somebody will eventually go into some kind of lawsuit type thing because like this does feel like so much like bullshit. Like, honestly, like,
Really is.
actually, how many games does EA own that use Unity? As much as we all make fun of EA being a corrupted, evil, horrible place, EA has in these kind of times have saved our ass. Like, I remember, did you ever see the guy who claimed he owned Edge? That's what it was. He claimed he owned the word Edge. Like, he was going after every fucking game that had Edge in it. Because he was saying, you can't use that. I own that. I'm suing you. Like, that's what happened to, like, Cross Edge from NIS that suffered that. But yeah, when he went after EA for Mirror's Edge, EA's like, oh, you want to go to court, huh? And, oh, he ruined his whole fucking life with that lawsuit.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying to find for EA games that use Unity. Not much else. Let's just pop it up at the
Aw.
moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, if EA owns some Unity games, maybe we need to get EA to get into a lawsuit with them. Because if anyone has tons of expendable money that they'll gladly use to keep more expendable money, it would be EA. So, but if they don't have a lot of Unity shit, then
I mean, there's no doubt that Nintendo will be on board because they have used Unity a few times. Or
I'm
especially like
surprised
Portal
Nintendo
Company.
has used Unity. I wasn't really aware of that.
Well, it was mostly for Pokemon Company because, like I pointed out, there's like Pokemon Blue, Diamond, Shining Pearl, and then Pokemon Go. They'll probably be more so Pokemon Company's decision whether they're going to counter sue, do a suing on Unity. But it would surprise me if they would because it's going to hurt their bottom line. Pokemon's like the most
Especially
profitable
if
IP.
like that developer's claim of them possibly wanting to look at the console manufacturers as a chargeable person for the fee. Nintendo would definitely fucking go to court over that if Unity's like, yeah, Nintendo, you owe us like $50 billion, and be like, I'll see you in court. Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Nintendo would definitely be contacted by the Pokemon Company because it's like the whole weird system with like Pokemon IP. It's like owned by like a third of like Game Freak, a third of Pokemon Company, and a third by
Yeah, I
Nintendo.
mean,
So
to
yeah,
be
there's no
fair, to
doubt they
be
don't want to get their money or bottom line hurt by this shit. So there's definitely gonna be a lot of suing, especially how Nintendo always does that a lot.
oh yeah. I mean, yeah, Nintendo would probably be the best next person to probably take them up the task on that if it was going to hurt them. Now, if it's just going to hurt developers, well, yeah, that could still be an issue because that would go up to Game Freak, and if Game Freak suffers, then yeah, that could mean some trouble still for Pokemon. Then, unless they look at it as some kind of opportunity to buy Pokemon 100%. Evil eye look. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
that'd be going into conspiracy theories, though. Probably not. Probably not likely, because Nintendo has a horrible history of letting good developers die. Huh? Well, made some great games for N64, but yeah, we'll let Microsoft buy them. Huh? Let's see. What was that? What's the company that made the Mario RPGs after Legend of Seven
There's Apple
Stars?
Dream, and the main reason why they died off is I shit you not, they literally got them to fucking make the Mario and Luigi remakes. I quote, and I quote, "It's not for the Switch, which because it would be common sense, but for the 3DS, even after the Switch came out, for Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and especially Bowser's Inside Story."
Yeah,
Now
see,
think
the
what
Bowser
about Bowser's
Inside
Inside Story?
Story was actually
It was
that
literally,
and the sequels after that were considered poor, but Bowser's Inside Story for the 3DS. See, what's funny is the best and worst selling entries in that series are the same fucking game, just different versions. The original
it's really
Bowser's
insane.
Inside Story is the best selling one out of that series, but the 3DS version is the worst selling version. And most people would tell you it's actually the worst version to play because a lot of people didn't like the aesthetical changes and some other things they did to the game.
Yeah, I have heard it's like some game breaking bugs with it, and also, and not just that, you could already play the gosh damn original already on the 3DS. It's Max Rebel.
I mean, most
What the
people say
fuck are you
the
bothered?
the uh, the original 3DS one was at least a more make sense thing because that was a Game Boy Advance game, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
an opportunity to actually enhance it with newer mechanics and later entries. So a lot of people thought that was a more make sense thing. Well, Bowser's Inside Story at the time was still not super old of that, and at that time I don't think there were a whole lot of new mechanics oval compared to like the forced entry. So a lot of people felt like it was a needless version. A lot of people didn't like some of the aesthetical changes. Almost everyone universally thinks Bowser looks worse in that. Like, I'm trying to win it. I think it was like some of his expressions weren't the same in the 3DS version or something. It's not about like Bowser
Not
was
so
like
sure.
immensely hated in the 3DS version over the original,
I
but
had the either version, so I want truly know. That is a good question though.
But yeah, and then the Leo 2 games didn't sell well. But yeah, those three games basically are what killed them is not having good sales. But like Nintendo could have still bought them and had them do shit. But no, it was just them again letting a good studio die. Like Nintendo, and hell, you gotta remember they were gonna let the Fire Emblem fucking studio die if what was the Fates? That was the 3DS
It
one,
was
right?
Awakening, and it was due to
Or was it
that
Awakening?
yeah,
And,
it's Awakening, and the main reason why is if they don't do like any other way to like ease the franchise in, because before it was a hardcore franchise where if your units died in
oh
the
yeah,
game,
yeah.
they
And Fate,
permanently are dead. They had
yeah.
to add like a casual mode. If they didn't, or find like some way to like make the game sell blockbusters, then they were going
Yeah,
to
they said it was going to be
sell
their last
entirely.
game if it didn't sell well, and it sold well, and then they made a few more. Then, ironically, we're at a spot where now the franchise is having issues again. But yeah, there was a point in time they were going to let the Fire Emblem fucking team sink too. So, like, Nintendo does not have a good history of fucking buying up shit. So, yeah, I mean, they probably more likely just let Pokemon sink out of stupidity, to be honest. But,
And besides the next value, does it really matter? So
I'm just
that's
saying,
happened.
Nintendo's what, like, every company that seems to have, like, good, just fucking fault. And then there's Camelot. Camelot just makes sports games now. Uh,
Aren't they also like do like Golden Sun or some
yes.
shit?
Camelot originally made the majority of the Shining franchise in the old days. I think the only one they didn't make was Darkness. I think other than that, they made the majority of the franchise for a good portion of the retro age. I think after the Sega Saturn is when they stopped making the Shining series, and that's when they started working with Nintendo to do some sports stuff. And then they made Golden Sun. Golden Sun did well, so they did that a little bit. And then went back to sports. The DS game didn't do well with Golden Sun, and now they're just kind of like Whale, where they're just making sports games exclusively. Well, Whale was just making, was making the connection, the Avatar stuff. Actually, I'm not even sure what Whale does now, because the Avatar shit for the Xbox has changed a lot, and the Kinect is deader than fucking dead, so I actually don't know what Whale's even... Well, there was that pirate game, wasn't there? There was that, whatever
Was
the hell that was called.
Sea of Thieves or whatever?
Yeah, because Whale did that, didn't they? I think they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so there's that, but that's been quite a few years now. So
I think it's still supported. Like
yeah,
they added
I
what
just
was it,
can't imagine them probably doing too
Monkey
much at
Island or
this
whatever.
point. Probably
Yeah,
just
they added
little
like Monkey
things.
Island, it's like expansion or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I've
Yeah,
been waiting to try that game, but being an online only game and on the Xbox and PC just kind of not really helped me on
no,
really trying it.
no.
I would like
Oh,
to try it. I think like it's an interesting concept. I just don't like that that's online only. Have some split screen, damn it, or
yeah,
link
exactly.
consoles up.
Mm-hmm. Get that web play like just like it was back in the Halo days. There you go.
Yeah, like I think it's such a underutilized. Like we're in an age where that should be easier and not as hard to do, and yet basically nothing makes you like. I think the last thing I could think of that did system linking, I think, was that Shadow One game on the 360. I think that's
Um,
the last thing I can think of that did like any kind of system linking.
there was Halo 3 at Reach. There's definitely wasn't plenty more of them you could do on for 360. And what's funny is that first of all is it's especially like backwards compatible games on Xbox One, because I believe Modern Vintage Gamer did test this for like Crimson Skies or some shit like this. He literally was able to link up the OG Xbox, a 360, and an Xbox One. Was able to do a system link game between those three, all three
Whoa.
consoles.
Now that's impressive. Now that's testing a game's functionality. If
Yeah, he's
that's
a very good YouTuber and
that's
definitely a
very
very good
interesting.
developer and tester of hardware
I would
and
not
software.
think they would actually be able to hook up and play. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Always learn something new. Like, see, that's what I always like to tell people: is don't ever assume you know everything.
Yeah,
What
definitely not.
always learn something new and bizarre. Always. But yeah, that's actually interesting. That's a very surprising thing. I'm surprised. Was he able to do that with like normal cables, or did he have to jerry wig something to get that to work?
I'll have to see if I can grab it and PG. Hang
Because
on.
I know, like, with that weird multiplayer Game Boy game, like, you have to kind of jerry wig that thing. So I just got curious. But yeah, either way, that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat indeed.
Yeah, I got the video right here for sure.
Last year on the channel, you may recall I made an episode about system.
Oh, that dude.
Yeah.
How did I miss that video? I'll have to watch that later.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to put that there.
That's
So
fine.
be later on available for you.
Yeah, YouTube like so horrible at fucking finding anything anymore. Ugh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like I really need to like I've been wanting to like clean up my like everyone I'm subscribed to. Like I'm full of so many like random channels that don't even do what they originally do anymore and shit. Like it's something I've been really needing to fucking clean. Yeah, how did I miss that fucking video? Damn fucking YouTube, a worthless piece of shit website. Everyone I want to watch doesn't get recommended while like, it's like, here's MatPat's newest video. Watch it 20 times, please. Don't you
Oh,
want to
don't get
watch more
started.
FNAF? FNAF.
Fuck that game.
I mean, to be fair, I do like a nice mystery, and I do find that a little bit interesting with FNAF. But like, MatPat like is like clearly a fucking whore with it. Like, I mean, good lord. Like, for a guy who claims to do theories on video games, like, when's the last shit he's done, like, on anything that really need? Like, there's so many games I've played that have so much interesting theory potential to them. And yeah, he just focuses on FNAF. Like, I get it. It brings him money. I get that. He has a family and shit. I'm not necessarily saying, but it's like, for the love of God, please try something that isn't fucking, trending, you know? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
but like one of like not to take a shot at him, but one of the reasons I really feel like he does that is like I think his content is done best with something that's super vague. Like you ever watch his Persona video? Oh
I
Lord, what
don't
a
think
train
I
wreck.
have. I know
Oh,
Game 5
it's
Royal. It's a
so
pretty good game.
awful. It's so fucking awful.
Oh lord.
I did a rant that I never actually made public. It's an unlisted video that I've shown some people before, but I never, cause I thought it was a little too harsh. I was a little, I wasn't super professional in it, to be honest. But it's just, it was so awful. Like, for a guy who makes all this big deal about doing research and paying all these fucking people, it was such a joke. Such a fucking. Hey, I even brought up points he could have used to defend his argument. His argument that was Teddy was used Shadow, which like makes literally no sense when you even understand what personas are in Persona. But I did bring up a few random things he could have actually used to justify that, but he didn't mention any of those. So I'm like, like the best credit I gave him was that if you're just speaking literally in the context of Persona 4 without any information from any of the franchise, I could maybe give you a point on trying to make that theory, but you know, you're supposed to be researching this shit. So you know, all you had to do was research the plot of like Persona 3 to even understand what fucking personas are properly to the characters. So that should they'll already told you that that would have been a problem. Though in the answer would have provided the one thing he could have countered that with, but you know, that's getting into spoilers and shit. I usually try to avoid talking that outside the
Yeah, I've
context
still
of
been
it.
to play it.
Yeah, I don't.
I only beat at 5 Royal so far, which is a damn good game. I do recommend that one.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Man, I keep just bouncing around. See, this is what I'm bad at. Sometimes I bounce around too much.
No, I did it too.
Yeah. Staying on target's usually not always best on me. That's why I said, like, I'm much better at speaking my mind. Like, there was a point in time I did try to do scripting with, like, my reviews, and it might have been better organized, but, like I told my viewers when I stopped, like, it didn't feel genuine. It felt fake to me.
Yeah, it felt
Maybe it was
forced.
just me, but it just doesn't feel authentic, even though it is still my thoughts on the topics and that. It didn't feel very like genuine in the like just how should I, spontaneous. It didn't feel like a genuine conversation. Like I'm not sitting here like Joe Biden reading a prompt horribly, like oh
Oh yeah, Joe Biden.
oh,
Joe
don't get
Biden's
me
so
on
bad.
politicians. I hate all of those. But yeah, let's stay away from that. I just
Oh
making
yeah,
fun of
definitely
all.
not. Definitely don't want to go Trump.
Yeah,
Trump in that territory.
that's going way far off topic. But yeah, I haven't really seen anything too new today about Unity other than them saying that they changed the policy to be one install unless it's installed on a new computer or product. So basically, the first install on every machine instead of multiple to fix the concerns of people trying to abuse the install number thing. But
Oh yeah.
other than that, that was the last real different thing I heard. I haven't heard anything else other than them trying to justify this shit. I haven't heard them roll back on too much other stuff.
Yeah,
I've seen
I haven't heard anything else new from it either. But yeah, that's like the ones I want to
might be a
talk
nice
about.
idea to see. Is it even still trending on Twitter out of curiosity? Might
HDX.
yeah, it looks like everyone's talking about Nintendo. Leave it to Nintendo to get the topic changed, eh?
Yeah, I thought the direct was whatever, but there were some good games I want to get. So there's not a surprise there.
Let's see.
Definitely okay excited for the Peach game, and I definitely want to get Bowser Your Door. There's no doubt about that. Because eventually,
Let's
like the GameCube game, my GameCube disc will eventually like die out. There's no doubt about it. So
Ooh.
being able to have it on Switch would be very handy. And it
Darkest
looks extremely
Dungeon made a
nice.
statement. We at Red Hook know something about madness. Much like Darkest Dungeon, game development is a dynamic and challenging effort when tough choices must be made using imperfect information. Making and releasing a game is an uncertain endeavor, with treasures never guaranteed. But that's only should lie in the marketplace, not the fundamental business terms around which a project was built. We believe Unity has made a grave misstep in introducing a poorly thought out fee mechanic, and then compounded that threefold by making it apply to games that have already been released. We are sympathetic to the idea that companies must at times try change how they operate, but these changes should be carefully planned, communicated, and direct in such a way that partners may choose whether they wish to accept these new rules for their next project. We built Darkest Dungeon in Unity, and a large part of our decision to do so was the relative cost certainly around the license and subscription model. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on licenses, and far more than that in engaging Unity to help us in parts of development. It is hard for us to imagine building another game with Unity unless we know we are protected from the possibility of mass changes to how we pay for the technology being introduced at the whims of management. Part of game development is knowing when the mechanic is not working and then having the courage to swallow your ego and undo that mistake. We call on Unity to react this bundle. Oh my god, that is like the most beautiful fucking reaction message I've seen to this. Like they literally just compared it to feature creep. You know what feature creep is?
I'm not so sure if I do or not.
Feature creep is where a developer is putting into me ideas that, like, you ever play a game that has so many fucking ideas, like, it feels like they're all tripping on each other when it would have probably been better to pick maybe 3 or 5 of those mechanics and just focus on those instead of having 50 different type of mechanics? Like, that's feature creep. Like, what they're comparing that, knowing like, okay, look, I like this idea, but the idea is not working. If I force it in, it's just gonna feel like a weird thing I need to swallow, and just like I find that like a very interesting comparison. But I really like this message. I think it's very thought out on how horrible of a decision this is, and I do agree. Like I think this would do Bell if they just said it applied to new games or games that haven't agreed to the old terms. People would probably still be pissed, but like they say in the message, at least you're not like in the middle of development being told, yeah, now you're fucked. You're locked in.
Yeah, exactly. That is definitely true.
Like,
No doubt about it.
but so far from what I'm seeing, I'm not really seeing a new thing from Unity so far scrolling through. Oh, well, Monster Road Trip just fucking threw him under the bus, too. It is hilarious looking at all the fucking indie devs just shitting on Unity so much. And I can't really blame them, because as we said, indies are going to be the ones that, like, super fucking get screwed over by this. Like, I don't like the two things I don't understand personally about this is why are they going off of installs, not like sales? Like sales would be so much easier to try and make some kind of argument for a fee off of. Like installs just makes no fucking sense. That is the weirdest thing to try and charge money on that I've ever fucking heard of in my life. I thought trying to have a subscription service for seat warmers in a car was a fucking stupid idea. This takes the cake, in my opinion.
Yeah, because what if you have like multiple devices? You're just screwing over a developer. You're just not don't even know.
Yeah, and like let's finish this train of thought and go into another thing that actually relates to what you just said. And the other thing is, like, I don't get why it's a flat fee. Like that's one of the reasons it screws over devs, indie devs so much. Because like I said in the example, if let's say the flat fee's $10, it doesn't matter if your game's 70 or $5. They want $10. Like yeah, actually, that would if something like that wouldn't that see super cheap Unity games anymore? Because technically it would be a loss then if the games are like $1 and shit. Those will be a loss now under this kind of thing. You would make no fucking money. That would be ridiculous. If they trigger it. If they trigger it,
for sure.
but with the topic matter you brought up, let's see. Oh, you could just say that in the stream if you want to go. How much time you got left?
I just got like a few more minutes left.
I didn't know when it was starting, but yeah, if you want to have to go for that, it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Oh no, I just want to make it to where it's not as crude. But I appreciate you having me aboard, and thank you all for coming by. And if you ever want to one of our discussions with along with him, I'll be more than happy to jump back in. My name is Zach, and you guys have a wonderful day.
Okay. Take it easy. Thank you for joining.
Take it easy.
It's always nice to have some other opinions and bounce off in that. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hopefully the Sony show's pretty good too, because I heard the Nintendo one was pretty good. So, enjoy that. But on the subject matter of multiple platforms, though, that kind of goes with the concern of them introducing DRM to keep track of this shit, because like with a DRM free game and that, you can install that on multiple shit. If I was a bad person, I could get that game and then give it to like 50 friends and we all install it and shit. Like that brings up the concern of stuff like that. Like I honestly am concerned how this could hurt DRM free and physical games, because the initial thought some people have is like, oh well, physical shit will be more encouraged. But, like, I'm afraid they would look at that and be like, oh, no, we need to put some shit in the license and try to justify, needing them to track it. And by doing that, it's like, oh, well, by law, we're being forced to track it, so we're going to have to put online measurements, so you'll have to check in online and stuff. It's annoying. But, yeah. So far, as far as I can see, Unity hasn't really added anything new today about the whole thing. There's a lot of talk about the TOS thing being changed, which I definitely think that is a lot of bullshit. And, another thing we could talk about is the concept of free stuff. So they'll I'm in VR chat and stuff, and they'll just like with indie games, there's a lot of concern about how it will affect things like VR chat. People use Unity to make worlds, make games, to make models. And while VR Chat is a free game to download, you don't even need VR. You can be in desktop mode. There is VRC Plus, which is like PlayStation Plus, but not with a lot of benefits, really. Very minor benefits. And then you got people who make models and shit, and they sell those. Like, will that stuff be affected? Like, that's something I thought about. Like, will they go after people who make models and shit? Because technically, they're making stuff in Unity. Now, they're not games, per se. Though they're all, you could justify maybe going after worlds like Tales of Nowhere, which I would be very sad to see them do that, because Tales of Nowhere was like my favorite fucking game in VR chat. It's so much fun. I love playing it. I love playing it so much. Oh, don't mind that. That was Discord kicking me because he left to go watch the PlayStation Direct, which apparently Sony did that today, probably to counter Nintendo, probably. But yeah, this is just really ridiculous how this is working. And there's a lot of VTuber apps and stuff that also use Unity, like VC and Magic Mule and stuff. Like, as far as I understand, all these things use Unity, and it just keeps being a weird. Like, they haven't made it very clear on any of this shit. Oh, what's this? Oh, here's something new. Unity temporarily closes offices amid death threats falling. And a canceled town hall meet. Wait, they were gonna have a town hall meet. What is this? Wait, I gotta take a look at this. What the fuck? I mean, it doesn't surprise me that people have been given death threats. Those fucking idiots that do that all over there on it. Developers will soon need to pay a fee every time. Yeah. Temporarily closed at San Francisco and Austin, Texas, and canceled a town hall meeting after it received death threats, according to Bloomberg. Earlier this week, the company announced its conscious change to its business. Let's see. Today, we have been made aware of potential threat of some of our offices and have taken immediate. Oh my goodness, this is. Now, death threats are never a good thing to do to anyone. As much as all this is really awful for Unity to be doing, that there's no denying that at all. But this is obviously not a good thing to be doing. So if you are engaging in death threats, do not do that. I understand Unity is fucked up and shit, but yeah, this is not a proper way to do this stuff. So please do not engage in this kind of shit if you're doing this. Let's see. Oh, wait. Yeah, and see, here's some talk about whether they're going to go after Pokemon, because Pokemon Go. See, again, that goes on to the whole thing about money transactions. Because on one hand, Pokemon Go, as far as I understand, is a free app, right? So, you know, if they go after just the money of buying the game, you know, then technically, there's just so many things that are very unclear in all this. They have not made good statements. I honestly think Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeons have made the best fucking messages on this. Darkest Dungeons really resonates with me. Like, I think it's just so, it's really interesting to compare the whole situation to game development. I think that has a very meaningful thing to it. I really like that. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything new related to Unity. People are probably focusing a little bit much on the Nintendo Direct and Sony. Unity unites the indie game industry against its new policy. Oh man. That's definitely an interesting take though. Yeah. Unity, like, I don't know, like, even if Unity was going in for the long-term stretch theory, like, in the short term they're taking the hit, but in the long term they're hoping to make, because a lot of subscriptions models and shit have shown to make lots of fucking money. So if that's what they're hoping for, like, honestly, I just don't see that working personally. Because trust is destroyed. Like, I don't see a lot of developers going, "Oh, I'm gonna stick with Unity." They'll probably stuck with it with whatever game they're developing now, because it is a costly choice to just change engines in a game development, or just cancel the game. Both are harsh choices, but I think most developers will probably finish any projects they're doing and completely abandon Unity. Like, I don't see a lot of future developers going, "Oh boy, I can't wait to fucking start my new game in Unity now." Like, I genuinely think we are going to see the death of Unity over the years. We might see a few more games using Unity because they were being made in it. But other than that, like, I don't see any other future course with Unity unless they change the shit. I don't really see that change happening. Like they've severely fucked themselves so much. They have just dropped a giant nuke on them fucking selves. But yeah, looks like nothing really new outside of the whole offices being closed, and apparently they were going to have a town meeting, which is kind of a weird thing to have a town meeting over. Unless they're afraid there's going to be a mass riot in town or something. That's really fucking crazy. Very weird. You know, though, interestingly enough, as much as we've seen, like, every indie company basically come out of the woodworks about this, I don't think I've seen any, like, AAA, like, opinions on this. And that's probably more because, well, you know, speaking your free mind in a AAA companies usually leads to bad things. So, I guess it's not too surprising, but I don't really get the big long-term strat here. Because in my opinion, every strat leads to fucking killing Unity. Because even if they walk back, they have a better chance of surviving by walking back. But they have hurt so much trust that they will likely hurt for years to come, even if they never did this kind of thing again. They would have to do, like, severe incentives to get people to fucking feel better about fucking working on them stuff. But yeah, it like practically the whole indie fucking scene is just uniting against fucking Unity. It's it's been a while. I think it's really been a while since I've seen, like, the entirety of the game industry fucking unite under one banner. Like, I think the last time I've really seen this was, like, with the Xbox One. And, you know, that's been such a while since the launch of that. Before that, like the anything after that, like, there hasn't really been a big united movement against something so stupid in the industry. So, and that's saying a lot because you had, like, the Microsoft merger that's had so many people on every side imaginable on that. So it's at least nice to see everyone really united under something. But I don't really know how this is gonna work. You know, there was the whole speculation it was going to affect things like Game Pass and that, and they did clarify that bundles and passes and that weren't going to be affected. So that was something they changed, like, a day and a half into this shit. So that ain't necessarily the newest thing, but that was something they also changed. But ultimately, it's still just really bad. It's still so bad. I just don't understand why this kind of decision is being made. Like, I guess if maybe Unity's losing money, like, maybe they're not getting enough money, which I find that hard to imagine, because from what I understand, the license fees were ridiculous amounts of fucking money, so I don't know how they wouldn't be making enough money, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, everyone loses in this. Indies lose huge chunks of money needed to pay themselves for new development and shit, move on forward. The consumers are definitely going to lose because if this shit doesn't change or everyone doesn't abandon Unity, they're going to jack prices up. It's going to use as justification to go above $70. You already know my opinion on that. $70 is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's 100% bullshit. Games do not need to be $70. Anyone who's making games $70 is greedy. They are greedy. They want more fucking money. There are lots of make sense reasons why they fucking are wasting money. But they just continue doing it anyway. But that's a different subject now. point is, it'll be used to justify increasing the price because, these kind of situations, it's always going to, any, like, tax increases and shit, go to the customer. They put a new thing on the customer to pay for that. And that's what they're going to do if anyone continues to keep using Unity. But honestly, like I said, I don't see any, like, even if they walk back, I see most devs going to walk away from Unity without having a strong incentive to stick with them if they walk back. But yeah, the whole thing with the TOS sounds like a giant lawsuit. The CEO selling the stock sounds like a giant lawsuit. Like, there's just so much shit that seems like a big joke in all this. It seems like a big fucking joke. I don't even know what the fuck is going to happen at this point. Because it really comes down to they'll either walk back, change the rules to a point where the majority aren't trying to fucking kill them, or they just stick with it, like I said, in the long run and hope it becomes profitable. Like, I guess they're hoping for dev whales, I guess. I don't really see a lot of people doing that myself, but, yeah. So, we'll have to see. Oh, apparently, yeah, see, a lot of these devs are talking about having a game in development in Unity, and they have to make the decision on whether to change engines because this shit's bullshit, or whether they need to figure out something out that, like, this whole system, like, this, just the fact they want to charge on installs is the most stupidest thing. Like, it'd be one thing to want a portion of sales, because that sounds more normal. But installs, it's such a weird fucking thing. It's so weird. Anyway, though, I think we talked about a good portion of this topic at this point. Overall, Unity is in a really bad place, regardless of what they do at this point. It's just all a matter whether they make it slightly better or they severely fuck it all up. That's the part that is going to become flaky at this point. But we'll have to see how that goes. Anyway, though, thank you for joining for us today. I'd love to hear your opinions on the whole Unity thing. If for some reason you want to defend them or play devil's advocate, you're welcome to try if you want. But I don't really imagine any. Like, I have seen no one defending this in any way because I think it's fair to say nothing makes sense. You're not getting anything out of this. They're just taking. So, like, nobody's receiving anything. Like I said to Zach, that, the Microsoft module thing, at least, like, for Game Pass, they're making out, because that means more free games for them. So, somebody made out of that. I don't think it's worth it, but, Anyway, though. Thank you for joining. Leave your opinions down on the comments. And again, there likely will be newer things that will come out and different statements. Like I said, there's a lot of information that's being tossed over all this, and it's really became a really messy, gossipy kind of thing. Like, there's so much information and claims of coming from Unity employees or leaked information. Like, one of the leaked information things was that apparently internally in Unity there have actually been concerns about this whole thing that were ignored. Haven't seen any straight out evidence of that being true, but man, if that is, ooh, talk about Willie, like, somebody really was trying to sabotage Unity. Maybe some Unreal employee got really deep into the company and just like, yes, is my moment to sabotage. But anyway, thank you for checking out the video. And if you enjoyed the topic, feel free to leave a like. And if you feel like you didn't, feel free to leave a dislike. You're free. Until next time, thank you for joining us at the Proving Grounds. Thank you, Zach, for joining in this conversation. It's always nice to have people to bounce off of that add to the conversation that we did rattle off a little off topic here and there, but hey, it's still a good topic still, though. Either way, though, thank you for joining, and until next time, see you out there in the Bob Oof. Oop, well, long thing.